Hey, I'm Pete from PMG. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to use my very grubby L322 Range Rover to show you the very basics of winter prep in your car. So for a little bit of background, I have a long-standing love affair with the Range Rover full fat, particularly the L322. This is now my third one. I actually still own my previous one, which is a Land Rover. It did break down, and it actually turned out to be not as horrendous a fault as what it was. But at that stage, I had needed a car quickly, and I thought I would try the EV thing, and I jumped on board with a Tesla. 2 years of Model 3 performance ownership, and well, it just started to become a bit inconvenient, and to be honest, just wasn't enjoying it anymore. And I also was missing the practicality of having a Jeep. Like, we use this all the time for throwing wheels in the back of, for picking up supplies, stuff like that. And you just didn't have that real world practicality that I needed to help run the business. So my dad owned this, and he was away on holiday, and I started to borrow it with the intention that the Tesla was going back. I was putting too many miles on my little Porsche, and it's not really a great daily driver. So I borrowed that, and well, it never went back again. And Dad very kindly sold it to me for an unbelievable price. And that's left me with a dilemma. My other old Range Rover that I had before this is actually returning from repair after a few years away, and I kind of need to shift one of them on. But this one has got more spec, and well, I think it's the one we're going to keep. Now, today's video is going to be all about winter prep in this car, because normally what I would suggest is that we would just be jumping in with doing paint correction and a ceramic coating. I do that on all of my vehicles. And quite often we hear people saying, I'll not bother and I'll get my car done until after winter passes, coming into the spring, summertime. The truth is, your car would benefit the most from protection in the winter time. So there's a few little bits of paintwork to do in this. I'm hoping maybe, depending on the reception from you guys, there'll be a bit of an ongoing project with this Range Rover, because me being me, I'm not going to leave it alone. I'm going to modify it. It's going to get a body kit of some kind, maybe an autobiography kit. It's going to be put on 22s. I have going to put in a CarPlay head unit in that works with the original stereo, because that is the one thing I do miss from the Tesla, is the tech. And saying that though, everything else, this pretty much has it. I've heated and cooled electric memory seats. There's heated seats in the rear. It's got radar guided cruise control that isn't working at the minute because it's a Land Rover. That's just a little sensor, we'll get that fixed. But there is bits of paintwork need done on the car as well. So I'm going to wait until winter passes, and rather than putting brand new 22s and stuff on and maybe, mark them in the ice in a mishap or whatever, I'm just going to wait until all of the bad weather is out of the way. And then we're going to get this kitted up, change quite a few things about it, and have it looking good again. Originally, I had planned on buying an L405. I've always wanted one of those. But the value of these, and to be honest, they feel every bit as luxurious inside. They drive so well. That TDV has just got a ball of power, loads of torque. It never feels stressed. It's so smooth and comfortable. And the price difference between a nice L322 like this and then jumping up to an equivalently nice L405 is massive. And then also the prices of those are currently in utter free fall. So I'm hoping if I'll kit this up, I'll get it looking how I want and make it stand out a little bit just for my own pleasure. I like my cars all to look pretty sharp. So if I get that, then hopefully the free fall L405s will slow down. And maybe in like 18 months to 2 years' time, I'll make the upgrade to a fresh one of those, like a 2018, 2019 one of those. So we're going to enjoy modifying and having a bit of fun with this. And as I say, I absolutely love it. When we went to test drive this for my dad when he was buying it, it made me miss mine so badly, and I don't think if he hadn't have bought that there, then I probably would have and found an excuse to own it. So now it's finally in my hands. We're going to take good care of it. Now, as I said, winter prep. This is going to be the absolute basic thing that we recommend you do to your car come winter time. It's really important to have protection on your car. Salt is really harmful to your paintwork. It's not good around the wheels and suspension components, etc. So what we're going to do is a very basic but deep clean of this car and then apply some basic protection. It's a really straightforward process, but this is essential to keeping your car going through winter. Often we see things like people that just drive their cars all winter. They maybe wash them at the start of the season coming in, and then all they do is clean their number plates. And I've heard people say things like the dirt helps protect the car. It's utter nonsense. The longer you leave that corrosive material on your paintwork, the negative effects are just going to accumulate throughout winter, and you're just causing yourself more wear and tear, more headaches, more problems when it comes to spring and summertime again. It's not good for the long-term health of the paintwork either. So we'll get this out into the wash bay. We'll show you exactly step by step what it is that we're going to do. This is no different really than any decontamination wash that you'll see us do in any of the videos previously to this, but it's important to go through these steps to leave the paintwork as clean as possible before we apply any protection. But I'm sure you're sick of me waffling by now, so let's get it out into the wash bay. Let's get it clean before we lay that protection down. So this is almost embarrassingly dirty. I can assure you my cars don't normally look like this, but it's been a hectic few weeks and I kind of neglected it. So our first step is going to be absolutely saturating the car in pre-wash. This is Achem Citriclean, and we are just absolutely soaking all that grime and making sure that it is loosening up that dirt as much as possible. We want to lay this on as thick as possible, but pay attention to the dilution ratios. You do not need to use more just because the car is dirtier. Mix it as the manufacturer has intended to serve its purpose. So now it comes time for laying down the snow foam. That's going to work in tandem with the pre-wash, and it's just going to soften and loosen all that nasty road grime and salt off the car, and means that when we get their initial rinsing stages, it is much more effective. The two combined means that it can dwell for longer, and you'll actually see some dirt start to drip off the vehicle from this stage alone. Again, pay attention to the manufacturer's suggested mixing ratio. Just because your car is dirtier, it doesn't mean you need thicker or heavier foam. You want foam of the right consistency so it clings as long as possible without being too heavy and falling off the vehicle. And likewise, you don't want it too thin where the same thing can happen. While that snow foam and pre-wash mix are dwelling in the car, I like to jump into the wheels at this stage. Now they've had the same mix, so the first thing that we do is jump in with a really thorough power wash into the wheels. If you've got gloss black wheels, particularly pay attention to this stage. What it's doing is removing as much of the loose contamination as possible, so all the grit and brake dust, etc., we can remove as much before we jump into the mechanical stages of washing the wheels. It's also a good time to really thoroughly rinse the wheel arches before then moving on to the cleaning process. And with the wheel cleaner, this time I went for an acid-based product just because the wheels were a bit neglected of late and I want an effective deep clean. A product like this would be total overkill though on a weekly washed vehicle. Because it's an acid, we don't need a huge amount of dwell time, but we just saturate the finish before moving in with the mechanical stages. Using a variety of tools such as detailing brushes and then the wheel bullies for getting in around the backs of the wheels, it's important to agitate every single surface of the wheel that you can access just to remove as much grime as possible before moving on to the rinse stage. Wheels complete, we move on to the first initial rinse stage, and you can see that snow foam and pre-wash stage is making a huge difference in rinsing the vehicle as clean as possible before we move on to any mechanical wash stages of the car. This is a really vital step in keeping defects out of your paint, and you want to spend as much time as possible here. There's no denying the results are effective. Now on to the mechanical wash. We start with adding a little bit of snow foam. This just adds a bit of lubricity to the surface, helps keep those defects at bay, and then we go in with our microfiber wash mitt, and we start with the top of the vehicle and work our way around and down and just rinse that bit out as you go along to keep as much dirt and grit out as possible. Then we rinse the car off, and it's finally time to move on to the last bits of the decon process, but already it looks pretty good. So at this stage of the process, we have all that yucky day-to-day grime off the car, and while it looks pretty clean, we still have a few more steps to do to get it clean enough that it's worthwhile putting protection on. It's important to know that the cleaner the surface that you're applying your protection to, the more chance it has of bonding properly, and it's going to help with the duration and durability of that protection. And also, it's going to increase its performance. It's going to allow it to do what it's meant to do as best as possible. So to decontaminate the car, we do a few different things. The first thing that we're going to be doing is tackling that iron fallout, and we're using the awesome Purge from AChem Automotive, and it's a simple case of just soaking the car down with it and then allowing it to dwell. Now, at this time of the year, when the temps are down, there's a bit of humidity in the air, you probably get a longer dwell time than what you're going to get in spring, summer. So you could leave it maybe around 10 minutes at this stage, but basically what you want to see is you're noticing no further change, colour change, and that is an indication that it is bleeding the iron out of the surface. Iron actually embeds into your clear coat. It doesn't sit on top of it, it actually embeds in. So this product is invaluable at actually removing it. Depending on how bad your car is, you might need to repeat this process 2-3 times. Now, I actually already had done this process on the Range Rover maybe 6-7 months ago after a caliper had stuck on and it threw a lot of iron filings up over the vehicle. So it wasn't that bad in this case. Now we move on to the next thing, which is tar removal. Tar deposits really unsightly, particularly on a white vehicle. And again, this is a simple process, but it's important to note if you've had any refinishing in your vehicle recently, or there's any previous poor refinishing on the car, always test it first. This is a strong solvent product, and it can cause damage to paint and plastic surfaces if you don't know how to use it properly. So always use caution when using a solvent product. Now, it is simple to use though. Say we do it in small areas. Generally, it's door handles down is where you're going to find most of the tar deposits on a vehicle. It's quite unusual to find them much further up than that, apart from the rear of the vehicle where they might even reach right up the top of the tailgate. But for this, we work in small sections at a time. You just simply spray it on, and the reaction is immediate. You'll see it immediately start to dissolve that tar, and then we just take a soft microfiber cloth and remove it from the surface. Now, work your way around the vehicle, and once it's complete, it's always important to take a soapy wash mitt and just wash away that residue, and don't let it lie on the vehicle for too long. Then rinse that off. Now, there is another stage of decontamination that I won't be doing. This is a personal judgment call. This is our most basic protection for winter. This is what we're saying is the absolute bare minimum that you should do. And the next thing is going to be clean. If you watch our channel a lot, you know I feel quite controversially about clean, but for me, I will never clear a car if the intention isn't to do paint correction afterwards. And as we're not going to be doing paint correction or any machine polish in this vehicle today, we'll leave that until springtime when we do some paint work on the car. I'm not going to do that. But the chemicals are so good and so strong at this stage of decontamination that there's really minimal bonded contamination left. So can you clear your car? That is entirely up to you. It will introduce some light marring into the finish, no matter how careful you are, no matter how much lubricant you use, it's going to do that. So judge it. The paintwork's pretty trashed in this, to be honest, and I could do it and really not see much of effect, but it's more of a principle thing for me, and I might do it before we do the machine polishing stages way down the line. But for now, use your best judgment. And with that, that's the car clean. Now it's time to get it inside and get it prepped for the protection. So now it's inside, it's dry, and it's ready for us to do some protection. As we said, this is the most basic of basic winter preps. This is the bare minimum that you should do to your car when it comes to getting it ready for winter at this time of the year. And well, we'll do a few little things that maybe aren't necessary, but are going to help with the appearance, and something that I do ongoing with my vehicles at this stage. Now, it's killing me that I'm not cracking out the machine polisher and getting rid of what is, well, very swirly defected paint, but it doesn't make sense. We have big plans for this car come springtime. We'll talk about more of that towards the end of the video. But for now, it's about getting the protection down. But I'm going to do a bit of sort of window dressing of the car first of all, and I recommend that you do all this stuff first before you get in with the protection products. Now, you'll see that the plastics in this are really quite manky and tired, and well, I'm just going to dress them for now. And it's a high silicone dressing, and it can be quite messy. So I like to do all of this type of stuff right at the start before we lay down any protection, because I don't want to then risk contaminating or protect the surface after the hard work's done. So taking a poor boy's dressing, and we're just dressing all of these trims and just brightening them up for now. I will do these with G-Technics C4 once it comes time for actually detailing the car, but for now it's just going to brighten it up a bit for the winter time, and I'll do this occasionally throughout the winter as the car gets its weekly washes. And we always dress our wheel arches. I think it's just something that looks nice. So I like to do the wheel arches, the tires and stuff at this stage too, because if you're getting any silicone overspray and touching things, again, it's not the end of the world because we haven't laid down the protection yet. Now, another thing which is really useful for winter, and while it's not a necessity, is certainly something that is very helpful. Now, normally we would use G-Technics Awesome G1, which is a glass coating that is absolutely incredible. But it is quite tricky to use, and we're gearing this at what you can use at home. And this is something that we just throw on a lot of cars occasionally because it's so simple to use, and well, it is effective. And that is a little glass coating from Infinity Wax. It couldn't be easier to use, and well, the benefit of a glass coating is just tenfold, especially come winter time. The visibility is so drastically improved throughout wet weather driving, and it also usefully lowers the freeze point on the glass. So yes, your glass can still freeze, but it does need to get colder before it will happen, and it also doesn't allow it to really bond. So it makes de-icing the windows really simple, and it means you can stay away from de-icer, which is a really strong chemical that I really don't recommend spraying over your car. This will allow you to do it with some lukewarm water. It makes things so much simpler. But to use it, first of all, we just give the glass a good clean with an alcohol glass cleaner, and then you simply spray this on the microfiber applicator, apply it to the glass. Generally, we apply it in straight lines in the direction that water is going to flow. So on the windscreen, that's going to be up, down, and on the side glass, that's going to be backwards and forwards, and that will just really make a difference to your wet weather driving throughout winter time. It is a must do in my opinion, but it's not protection, it's more about driving aids. So once that's complete, now we need to get the vehicle prepped for the sealant that we're going to put on. And with us, we're going to use G-Technics Awesome C2V3 Liquid Crystal. It is a fantastic spray sealant that is so easy to use. You use it like a quick detail spray. But first of all, we need to make sure that the paintwork is contamination free from silicones, from oils, from any residues, from any chemicals that we use. And this is a really important step that people don't use. And to do this, we take panel wipe and we just wipe the vehicle down with the panel wipe. And that's going to leave a clean surface so that whenever we apply the C2, it is bonding properly, and it's going to just boost the life, boost the durability. This is a very worthwhile step. Do not skip it. And then you just use the C2. You can either spray it a little bit onto the panel, but I much prefer to spray it directly onto one microfiber, wipe the panel down with it, and then take a second microfiber and buff it to a dry, glossy finish. Really simple, less is more with this product. You do not need to soak it. A spray is enough for a smaller panel, and maybe 2 sprays would do a whole bonnet on something as big as this Range Rover. And then that's it. Your car is complete, it is protected. And while, yeah, it's not what we would normally do, it's not the thing that really excites me, this is essential winter maintenance for your car. A few little tips that we'll give you, especially if you're putting protection and glass coatings on. Screen wash, it's an essential thing at this time of the year. I only put the absolute minimum of screen wash into the bottle and then top the rest up with water. And the only reason I put any screen wash in there whatsoever is just to stop it freezing in the bottle. But screen wash mixed strong is going to strip protection. It is a very, very strong chemical. And in some cars, I've seen this happen on Fords, I've seen this happen on Land Rovers. a really strong mix of that chemical can actually etch into the finish and not even be able to be polished out. I've seen in a few cases where it's meant that the panels had to be refinished. So just put a little tiny bit in and just make sure it's well diluted and use from there. But you'll find the glass coatings are such a massive aid for your wet weather driving. You'll want to protect them at all costs. And that's it. Now we just look and see how good does this car look now. So I'm pretty happy that now I have a bit of protection on my car. I won't go as far as saying I'm pretty happy with how it looks. Doing a clean like this is what exposes what I'm going to have to do come springtime. There's a lot of cosmetic remedy is going to be required for this Range Rover to look its best again. But as I say, there's no point doing that at this stage because it's getting a lot of cosmetic remedy come spring. Well, we'll go through exactly what my plans are for this, and depending on your guys' response, maybe you want to see this type of thing on the channel. But some mechanical things just to deal with. First of all, I have a slightly sticky rear caliper that is actually going to get repaired tomorrow, which is great. And then the radar cruise, the sensor at the front bumper is messing about, and I got a second-hand one of those. I'm going to fit that, and that should be that back to tip-top again. And I have a or multiple rear parking sensors to repair. I haven't tested yet to see what's what, but pretty common on these. And other than that, this thing is mechanically in pretty fine fettle. It drives really well, with the exception that that caliper that started sticking a little, but I just love these L322s. It feels so right to me to be in one. And say I've had quite a few of them before. This is probably the plainest looking one that I've had. So we've going quite a bit of a cosmetic journey with the car as well. First things first, and that is going to be getting rid of all of that chrome. Now, unbelievably, it doesn't offend me as much as I would like to think it should. Maybe it's because it's white, it pulls it off a bit better, but regardless, it's all going in the bin. We're going to replace those door handles with color-coded ones, and probably put some gloss black mirror caps and then gloss black side vents on the car. And then get a bit of wrapping done to some of the other trims to make them gloss black as well. That chrome bonnet cover thing is the one that offends me the most. I can't wait to get that off. And then I'm probably going to put a kit on this. Now, my other Range Rover that you'll see earlier in the video had a can kit on it, and I think it looks really good, but they seem to be just unobtainium now. Where I can get an autobiography kit for this, for actually pretty reasonable money, less than £1,000 buys the full kit for it, and then obviously getting it painted and fit it. The bumpers in this need painted anyway, so I would have been doing it regardless, and I think it just would add a bit more aggression, maybe modernise it a little as well. And then the wheels, Dad had these refurbed in the summertime. They were really letting the car down, and he debated at the time maybe putting a set of 22s on it because his old Range Rover had 22s and it looked really smart. But actually, once we got these refurbed in really bright silver, they look really well on it. But once it's kitted, they're going to be too small. So some 22s, I'm probably going to put some Inspiri ISVRs, which is what was on my silver Jeep. I think they look really well. And then it's just go a bit toss up and do them bright silver, which they don't sell. So buying a brand new set of wheels and then having that and refinish would be pretty sickening. But we could put the gloss black on, which would tie in with a lot of the gloss black things that I intend to do. And then the media system. So you can get a retrofit kit that maintains all of the Range Rover screen and functionality of that, but it also gives you Apple CarPlay. And you know, that's the one thing I miss from the Tesla is the tech. And while this is the spec with the heated seats, cooled seats, heated steering wheel, all that type of thing, and the radar cruise, which is something I used a lot in the Tesla, it is going to be a welcome addition, being able to just stream music easily and even have the option of Netflix and stuff in the car. Which, although this does have digital TV in it, you kind of only really used it when you were being inconvenienced to charge in the Tesla, though. So I'm finding not missing the watchability of things all that. I'm not missing it that much now that I'm just able to put diesel in the car and keep on moving. But yeah, despite the cosmetic things, then there's just some cosmetic improvements to do. Then, aside from the paintwork, I really want to paint the calipers and the hubs and stuff just to freshen all that up. And then the headlight lenses are pretty stone chipped, as well as just they're starting to laminate and stuff. And while I could do a headlight restoration on them, the lenses are pretty cheap for these, so I think we'll just pop some fresh lenses on it, and that'll be that. And the last thing is to get my plate onto it. But if you guys would like to follow the journey of this, please leave it in the comments. I know it's not really what the channel's about, but I am constantly tinkering with my own cars, and I can't leave a car standard. I have to modify it and just get it looking how I want it to look. So if you guys would be interested in seeing that type of thing, I certainly would share it more in the channel. And come summertime, we'll probably buy some ridiculous fun cars, no doubt, as well. So if you want to see more of that type of thing, as well as or just general detailing things, let us know. I'm certainly up for filming it. So then to round up this, basic winter prep, and this really is basic. This is the bare minimum that I would say you do to your vehicle. In an ideal world, I would have this ceramic coated by now, but it just doesn't make sense because there is so much cosmetic thing to do. I should say there is some rust repairs that need done on the car, which is why I'm holding off until springtime to do so. Just want to address a lot in one go. But yeah, ideally I would have it ceramic coated, and then all I would have to be doing is wash maintenance throughout the winter time, and I really wouldn't be worried about it at all. And you're getting that absolutely top level of paint protection in that case, and the gloss in your car make it so much easier to clean. But even at this basic level of protection, it is going to keep the car a bit cleaner for longer, and it's going to make it easier for me to clean whenever I do. So it'll also mean that those harmful contamination, particularly the salt and stuff, they're sitting on the protection, they're not sitting on the paint. So it is important to pair this up with frequent washing. I know it's a chore in the winter time, and maybe even if you did a touchless wash once a week, you could get away with that for maybe 3 weeks, but it's important to mechanical wash your cars well. You need to get the wash mitts on the paint, you need to do that. It's an important process, and it'll also help the protection that you put on there. I just do mine weekly regardless, rain, hail or shine. It's just something that you have to do. Now, I know it's not always possible. I mean, life had got in the way and I hadn't washed the Range Rover in about a month, so I know it isn't always easy to do, but if you do it regularly and you have the car protected, it's much easier and it takes a lot less time. And time is something we should speak about with this job. Start to finish, it's probably about 4 to 5 hours. It really depends on how grubby the car is to start with, how much fallout and stuff is on the car. Bonnet contamination really wasn't too bad in this because I had done it for my dad maybe 6-7 months ago, so it hadn't really built up to a huge amount since then. But spend the time, do it once, do it right, and then you can top that protection up. That's one of the things I like about C23 V3 as well. It's so easy for us to use. All I can do is just spritz it down whenever I get the car washed and dried someday. But generally, I'll do a wash, rinse it down with filtered water, and that is enough to see me through winter time back into summer or spring, where I can't wait to get started into this. So yeah, you want to see more Range Rover content? Give us a comment. If you want to see this Land Rover, not if you want to, you're going to, whether you watch it or not, it's up to you, I suppose. Yeah, this big Defender is in for a total overhaul, machine polish, coatings, a bit of dismantling, do that roof rack to get off so we can machine polish the roof and stuff. So it's going to be a fairly big project. Probably not going to see the video on that until the start of the new year. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the channel. Hopefully this was helpful, and we'll catch you again soon.